Welcome to my Commodore 64 Games memories. This is where I look at old games and some of the technical details behind them. Let's get into it. Today we have Moon Patrol, which was copyright Williams in 1982 and copyright Atari in 1983. This version, unfortunately, that I've got here is a pirated version because I cannot find the original version anymore. So this is a conversion of the arcade game for a Commodore 64 game from 1983. Actually, this version is, pretty much not too bad. It has a few, three layers of approximate parallax scrolling, which is a little bit like the arcade game, apart from the arcade game has much better graphics, of course. So this game is actually pretty simple. You can fire forwards and you can fire upwards by pressing the same fire button. You can jump, and you're meant to jump over the holes in the ground like this. Some enemies will drop explosives which put holes or craters in the ground as well. You are meant to progress to the end of the level as fast as possible, and the end of the section of this level is shown by the letter E on the ground, which will come up shortly. And then you just get bonus points for the time that's left. So back in 1983, when I was about 10 years old, I used to play this one quite a lot. To be honest, I don't remember if it was original or if it was some tape duplicated copy. It's probably the latter, to be honest. So pretty simple gameplay, really, and there we go. Nice little tune for the end of level. You get some bonus time because it was quite quick, and then the next level looks practically the same. Later levels on the arcade game do have some progression. You can go up and down the hill a bit, or the landscape a bit, and also you get some different types of enemies. To be honest, I'm not too sure what you see on the Commodore 64 version. I don't think I played it through. So that's basically it. Game over, player one, I died. I didn't play it very well. So now we're going to go into some of the technical details about this game. So here we are again in my favourite ICU 64 debugger. I'm just looking at the memory in this pirated boot disk menu and noticing this little message saying from the person who wrote the menu, please don't reuse my work or chop around my work or anything like that, which is a bit ironic really, since they're the ones that are pirating the content of other people's games, but they seem to want to protect the content of their own coding. To be honest, their own coding is, really very simple because it's just a boot menu. There isn't anything else really in the memory of the Commodore 64 at this point. It just looks like pretty much default blank memory state. Nothing unusual. So anyway, let's continue on. If we have a look at the memory view in the middle window here, we can see it's decompressing lots of memory and moving lots of stuff around, and then it initializes the game. Up in the top right hand corner of the screen, I can actually see some characters, or I saw some characters scrolling on, which we can have a little bit look at later on. I was wondering about this screen actually. Where is this screen in main memory? Just having a little look around, it wasn't actually obvious where it would be. There seems to be quite a bit of code up higher up in memory. But again, nothing too special, to be honest. I can see the code that's executing just on the title screen. I can actually locate where some of the sprites are, and you can see the sprites are in the first bank. However, I'm pretty sure that the title screen is actually not in the first bank. The first bank on the Commodore 64 actually has the character ROM inside it, which quite severely limits the amount of customized graphics that you can use, because the VIC sees the character ROM as opposed to the characters that you would want to define as they're sitting in memory. So here I am having a little hunt around for where the title screen is. I don't find the title screen. I find the game screen. I can find the various different actually the mountains seem to use at least 2 different character sets. The ground actually would seem to be using a 3rd character set as well. And all of this is in the first bank, so I'm thinking, well, where on earth is the title screen? So here I go, I open up the debugger while it's displaying the title screen. And this tells me that actually the title screen is in the 2nd bank. So I note the address of where the screen is, and then I'm in the sprites view. Let's go back to the other view. It's not bitmaps, although I can see, obviously because it's character set data, I can see this in the bitmap view. And now I'm looking at character sets. If I set it now back to text screens, we can actually see, there we go, that's the title screen. We seem to have 2 copies of the title screen with different layout. You can see that the layout matches the top right screen, not the bottom left screen, which again is a little bit strange. Slightly unexpected, I think I would say about that. Now, when the game is actually running, I noticed something a little bit unusual about this. So again, when it goes to the press F1 to start, and F3 and F5 and so on and so forth, again it hasn't updated the text screen. Actually the text screen hasn't changed at all, the characters are the same. And I thought, well, how on earth is it rendering this screen? So I again go into the debugger, and I again have a look at the I/O space, but this time for the VIC chip, and I can see that actually, again, the game has used the same character set layout for the screens, but the character set is actually swapped, so it's using a different character set. Again, in the 2nd bank, but to display this next screen, it swaps the character set around, but leaves the text screens the same. And here you can see I'm flipping between the 2 different character sets, and I can show the 2 different screens with the same character screen layout. So this is an unusual thing to do. Normally, right, you would have the character set in memory, and then you would change the character screen to point to the different characters in the defined character set. But this time around, the characters in the screen are the same, but the character sets are being swapped over. So when the game is running, I can see here where the screens and where the character sets are. Now this multiple character set idea that's used in the title screen is also actually carried through to the game mode, which is actually really very unusual. So I can see that the scrolling character parallax layers are in the screen at 0400 in hex. But then if I change the character sets which are used, it shows the mountains, it shows the top layer of the mountains, it then shows the next layer of the mountains, and then if I go all the way up to the bottom character set, the end character set at the end of the first bank, you can see down at the bottom here that it renders the moon's surface. Now this means that actually the game, when it's running, has 3 distinct character sets. which is incredibly unusual because the first bank, as I said, has quite a bit of memory used by the character ROM as well. So this is a very unusual layout, and there's one more unusual thing about this game that we will go into in a second. So I noticed that if I view the character set data, when the moon is scrolling across, actually the game updates information into the character set. It doesn't really use the updated characters in the screen. It's updating the character set data. It's redefining the characters in the character set data itself to get the scrolling effect to actually work. I mean, it is scrolling the characters to do the full screen scrolling, but it's uploading new character set data as the moon landscape scrolls across. And this is very unusual for a game like this. Normally a game would have one or maybe two character sets maximum. Usually the game would keep one character set in memory and just use that for the whole level, and it would try and minimize updates to the character sets, because every time you update one character, you actually have to send over about 8 bytes to redefine one character completely. So this is actually throwing quite a lot of memory into the game when it is scrolling. Now, the only reason why I think it could do this, or want to do this, is to allow for more variation in the moon's background, in the moon's surface. However, to be honest, there isn't that much variation in the moon's surface anyway. It could all be, by the looks of it, contained within one character set anyway. So very interesting design choices, and because the game is actually using this multiple character set idea but maintaining the characters the same, then maintaining the character screen data the same, it very much looks like the programmer was having some unusual ideas about how text screens, or how character screens and how character data is meant to be used on the Commodore 64. That's about the only thing that I can really think which explains this really very unusual technical setup that this game has. Apart from that, this game is fairly jolly. It's not too bad at all to play. It just, for me, it's just a little bit kind of like simple and repetitive, but then again, it was a game from 1983. What do you expect, really? So thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this kind of thing where I look at my old Commodore 64 games memories, then please do consider liking or subscribing to this channel so I know that you like this content, or dropping me a note below in the comment section below, or you can send me an email or a Twitter message or anything like that. It's always nice to hear back from people wanting to get feedback. So thank you very much. Take care. Have a great day wherever you are.